Okay, so this is in honor of Shavuot, so we're going to be talking about Shavuot. And of course, Shavuot is the holiday where we receive the Torah. So it's really when we became the Jewish people, when we became the Jewish nation. So it's a very special holiday, very, very special for us. It's also, interestingly, the one holiday that is Judaism is very different from all other nations, all other religions, in many, many ways. But one way in particular is, suppose you were trying to make up a story, right? Suppose you wanted to say a story that something happened to you and you wanted people to believe it. So you would say something happened to me personally when I was away all by myself, or maybe with one of your friends who's going to make sure that they're going to corroborate your story. You're not going to say, I won't say to people, I was at this class in New City giving a class, and then we saw this like tremendous miracle that just like happened. And this is just in front of what, like a dozen people or 24 people? I won't say that because anyone could ask all the people that are here and they'll say, what are you talking about? Of course it didn't happen. You know, that's not what happened. For sure I'm not gonna do it in the shul where there's hundreds of people, right? Because of course someone's gonna speak to somebody and say something. Of course not in front of thousands of people, for sure not. And yet the Torah was given in front of over 2 million people. And the miracles that are described in the Torah happened in front of, we know, over, here, take this chair. I'm standing anyways. It happened in front of 600,000 men, we know, that left Egypt. And that means that the amount of women and children are well over 2 million people. And miracles happened. Now, you're not going to start saying the miracles that happened and start writing a record. I'm not going to start writing a book about the miracles that happened to me this tonight in front of this class of people when I know anyone could speak to any of the people here and say, that didn't happen. Of course not. For sure not in front of 2 million people where it's so easy to ask any of the people, did this happen? So if you look at any other religion that there is out there, the way that it's done is one person who had a vision, maybe one person with another person who had or maybe someone even found something, these tablets, if you're talking about more modern day Mormons. You're not going to talk about a religion which happened in front of 2 million people who witnessed miracles, because the chances of 2 million people lying and saying, yes, we saw that, and passing it on to their children and saying to their children, we saw that, we saw those miracles, we saw it, we heard the voice of God, we heard this whole episode. You can't do it. There's no way. Because someone's going to say, that didn't happen, right? There's no way to keep it on. Now, you're going to say, well, we're so many years after, we're thousands of years after Mount Sinai, but how is it transmitted from generation to generation? So other religions, you can transmit the fact that someone saw a vision or someone had a miracle done in their own private life, and then he taught that to other people. But no other religion claims that this miracle was done in front of 2 million people, because it has to actually happen. So this is one thing that Judaism is very, very different than any other religion, because the miracles that we're talking about, the episodes that we're talking about, God descending on Mount Sinai was witnessed before 2 million people. And they all heard God saying, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am God your God. And we know, of course, that this is not only what the people that were there, but we're told that every single one of us was actually there as well. Our souls, our neshama was present. Every neshama was present. And that's why when you talk about faith, faith isn't something that you need to discover. It's something that you need to uncover. It's something that you need to find within, because it's within you. So when you learn about the truth that happened, and when you understand it, and you learn deeper and deeper into what had happened and how it applies to us all, it somehow resonates, because there's a part of you that's saying, yeah, this is what I saw, this is what I witnessed. This is part of me, this is what what I really saw. And it's engraved within us, within our soul, within our neshama. And that's, by the way, one of the reasons why the luchot that were given, the tablets that were given, which the commandments were on, the 10 commandments were on, it wasn't that it was, how do we write on paper? You take a pen and you write on the paper. So your pen and the ink is separate from the paper, right? That's how everything is, and you're connecting the two. With the luchot, it says it was engraved. The letters themselves were engraved in the luchot. It wasn't written from something separate, but the stones themselves formed those letters, just like when you engrave something on jewelry or you engrave something in something, like your chai. It's on top of it, but it's part of the necklace. It's not a separate entity. Miraculously, when you turned the luchot over, usually when you turn something over, it would be, if you ever held a piece of paper with writing in front of a mirror, it's like the other way. It's opposite, right? You can't read it. Miraculously, it was both sides were written exactly in a way that you could read it. Yeah, that was a miracle of what happened. And even like there's some letters that are they have like little dots in it. Like let's say the samach or they have a little dot that's holding it, and it was holding it. It was suspended in air because it was engraved on both sides. So somehow miraculously you turned it over, it was engraved the other way as well. But there's a message for that. And the message that the engraved letters teaches us is that Torah is engraved within us. It's not just, like we said, it's not just that we have to learn something that's external. We're uncovering something of what we really are. We're uncovering the depths of our soul. We're uncovering the depths of our Judaism, of who we are, of our pride as a Jewish people. You learn it, you discover it. Obviously, it has to be done in the right way. You have to have the right teachers who teach it in the proper way. But when you can learn and delve into, and if you're not excited about what you're learning, it means it's being taught in the wrong way. But if you have the right people who can teach it to you, you can experience that it's not just something that's foreign, that's written on a paper, that's something outside of you, but it's actually something that's engraved within us. It's something that's so much a part of who we are. I just want to share with you a short story from my father, who passed away about 3 months ago. So during the Shiva, someone was telling us, I don't know if I shared this with you yet, but someone was telling us he had this group of people who he would learn with in the morning, every morning for like 30 years straight, 6:30 in the morning. And sometimes there was only one person who came, sometimes it was 4 people that came. It was a small group, 6:30 in the morning, but no matter what, every day he would go and he would learn, and he was very dedicated to this group of people. And they learned simple things. It wasn't like it was big scholars, very simple. And one of the people said to us at the Shiva, he says, when your father used to turn the page of the Sefer, of the holy book that he was learning, he would do it in a way like, as if he would be like caressing the page, as if he didn't want to say goodbye to it. And he would gently, like not just turn it, he would gently like turn it. And then the new page, he would kind of like caress, as if he's like caressing the cheeks of a grandchild, showing his tremendous love for the Torah, for what it was. And that love is something that's been a part of the Jewish people for all times, because this is a part of who we are. This is a part of what we are as a people. And we learn it and we study it, and we see the things that are happening today are just a progression of what's been happening throughout the generations. And we somehow connect to the fact that this has been happening to us, and this is who we are, because we are a special nation. As we are told at Har Sinai, that we are Mamlechet Kohanim B'Goy Kadosh. We are a nation that's a special nation. We are teachers to the world. And we relate to that teaching and to that understanding of being that special nation. So, what happened on the day of Matan Torah? We have been counting from Pesach till Shavuot 49 days, and we're trying to climb a ladder spiritually, a little bit higher to prepare ourselves to receive the Torah. And we know that the Jewish people in Mitzrayim were on, it says, the Memtet Shari Tuma. They were on the lowest 49 levels of depravity because they were so polluted from the corruption within Egypt. It was a terrible, terribly depraved, immoral atmosphere. And finally now they climbed out. They're preparing themselves one day at a time. They were ready already from the beginning. They were waiting and anticipating this event of Matan Torah, of getting the Torah. And they've been preparing themselves, trying to get themselves ready and ready and ready, climbing day by day, one step higher and higher and higher in anticipation of this day. And then finally, 49th day comes, and they're ready. On the 49th, they've come out from the bottom, from the depths. They're ready now, ready to receive the Torah. And what do they do that night, the night before they get the Torah, and the day of the Torah? Anyone know?
They broke
They overslept. They slept. That's after. Yes. They overslept. They slept. In fact, anyone know the custom? What do we do? They were tired. They were tired from all that hard work, 49 days. What do we do on the first night of Shavuot? What's the custom? We stay up the whole night. Why are we staying up the whole night?
I don't know, to make up for...
We stay up and we learn Torah.
Really?
Yeah.
For their mistake, yeah.
Oh,
We stay up to make up for their mistake. What was their mistake?
that they overslept.
That they overslept. It comes time. They've been waiting for this for 49 days, 7 weeks, counting the days, making a countdown. It's finally the time. You would think, I mean, I imagine it's your wedding day and you show up late to the hall because, I overslept. Sorry. Right? Sorry, guys. I mean, what would a groom or bride think about that? Weren't you excited? Weren't you anticipating this day? What do you mean you overslept? And they overslept. It says God had to call them. Imagine like you're in the hall and the bride is calling the groom, hey, where are you, honey? Did you have second thoughts here? Like, what's going on? But they overslept. So what's going on here? How could they oversleep? Why did they oversleep? So, and it actually says that night it was Sivan, which it's a beautiful day outside, right? Well, somehow in the month of Sivan, in the desert there, it was beautiful nights. It was cool, a cool night, and God made that there shouldn't be any fleas in the air, so that none of them would actually even be bothered by the fleas. So, and therefore they overslept. So they shouldn't be bothered by the fleas, so they should sleep comfortably, the Medrash says. If it was something that was wrong for them to be doing, why would God make it easier for them? Why would God create a situation where they can do it even easier, that they can sleep even more comfortably? So the answer is, what was the people's calculation when they did this? What were they thinking? They were thinking, for 49 days, we've tried, we've done our best. We've climbed the ladder slowly and surely. We've climbed up higher and higher in our spiritual situation. We've done what we can do. Now is the last opportunity, and what's the best way of us preparing for receiving the Torah? Let's go to sleep. Why? Because what happens when we sleep? When we sleep, our soul goes up to heaven. And it says it's almost like a 1/60th of death. And that's why we wash our hands in the morning, right? To get rid of that impurity that comes to us. But our soul leaves us to some extent. Part of our soul leaves us and ascends to heaven. If you look on a psychological level, we say that the whole body gets purified during your sleep. You need your sleep to process all the things that go through, all the things that happen during your day. At night, you process it. Mentally, you process it. On a spiritual level, what happens? Your soul descends to heaven, ascends to heaven. So the Jewish people thought, what's the best way that we can prepare to receive the Torah? The best way is spiritually. Let's go to sleep. We're the most connected to God when we're sleeping. We did our preparation till now. Now, tonight, we'll go to sleep. So what was wrong with that we have to repair that? I mean, let's all sleep in on Shavuot. But to the contrary, we stay up the whole night and we learn and Torah. Why? What's wrong with that calculation? Because God was saying to us, Torah isn't in the spiritual. Torah wasn't given for the spiritual. Torah wasn't even given for your soul. Torah was given for your body. Torah was given for your physical reality. Torah was given so you can change this world. Not that you can escape from this world. We're not meant to escape the situation of this world. Torah was given so we can purify this world, so we can bring light to this world. We're not supposed to leave the darkness, go away from the darkness. We're supposed to bring light to the darkness. We're not supposed to just say, okay, this world is an immoral world, and we're going to just be in our little enclave doing our own thing on some mountain in the Himalayas, meditating all day and being very spiritual people. Torah is about affecting the world, changing ourselves, changing which part of ourselves. The soul is pure. Every soul here, you're all souls, and your souls are 100% pure, no matter what you do, no matter how, whatever things you're embarrassed about doing, which we won't even mention, that we all do, right? Your soul is 100% pure. It's a neshama that Hashem gave you. It's pure. But we've defiled the rest of ourselves, the rest of our of who we are. So Torah was given for our entire being, for not just our souls, but for our physical bodies as well, to change this world, to make this world into a world that God feels comfortable, that God feels is a home for God, to make this physical world into a home for God. If you remember last week in Bamidbar, which is always read right before Shavuot, we said that the whole point of Bamidbar is we're in the desert, we're in the desolation, we're in the wilderness. And in the wilderness, that's when is brought out our greatest selves. When you're in your challenges, when you're in your difficulties, when you're going through those things that seem so difficult in your life and are so difficult at that moment, that brings out somehow your greatest challenge, of the greatest strength of who you are, your greatest perception of yourself through those difficulties. And so this is what we see, that when they were in this, this is why we wake up and we stay awake, we rectify the mistake that was done. We show God, no, we're here learning Torah, to apply the Torah, to bring the wisdom of the Torah, not to some remote area, but to our actual day-to-day lives, and bring it into our day-to-day lives on a very practical level. And what happened at Sinai? It says that God descended to Sinai, God descended, and he allowed us to rise up. Meaning, until Sinai, there was a written rule in this world, in creation, that spiritual cannot come to physical, and physical can't come to spiritual. And it makes sense, because something spiritual can't affect something physical. A spiritual idea is an idea. It doesn't become something concrete or something tangible. It's a spirit. Show me how you draw a feeling. A feeling is something, it's a feeling, you know? Show me a concrete feeling. You can't. It's a feeling. It's something that you feel. So something spiritual couldn't come into something physical. And something physical is also stuck here in the physical world. It can't go up to spirituality, to something spiritual. The two just don't meet. They're not connected. On Har Sinai, God says, that rule is broken. Spirituality is descending to this world, and physicality is rising up. And that is why, before Matan Torah, there was no concept of a physical thing being holy. There was no such thing as a Sefer Torah. You know, a Sefer Torah is so holy, right? We look at a Torah, people have even gone into burning buildings in order to save a Torah. It's so precious to us. It's something that's so valuable, not just materially, but this is something spiritually so valuable. We'll do anything to save a Torah. When we had in Pomona a few months ago, there was a shul, if you heard about that burned down. That's in my neighborhood, like, not the shul that we daven in, but like further up. They actually they buried, the Torahs that were there, where it became very waterlogged. They were all hidden in a safe, but they became full of water and they were burned. It didn't protect them. And so they actually did a funeral for Torah. You make a funeral, they bury it, because it's something that's so precious to us, so holy. You're not going to just throw it out, God forbid. It's something sacred. But how does a Torah become sacred? It's a physical thing. You're taking an animal's skin. I mean, that's what we're taking. That's what a Torah is written on, an animal's skin. And you're writing with a pen, and not a pen, with a feather and ink. You know, you're taking parchment, and how does that become holy? How does that become so sacred? Or take the mezuzah on the doorpost. You know, we kiss the mezuzah. We express that it's so holy. Why? How is the mezuzah holy? It's, again, a piece of paper. Why is a piece of paper holy? But that's exactly what happened at Sinai. Before Sinai, you do a mitzvah, you purify yourself, you change yourself, you do something nice, you do something positive, you're purified yourself, you've become holy, you purify perhaps the world, but the physical reality has remained exactly the same. After Matan Torah, after Sinai, physical things have become holy. A Torah becomes a holy scroll. A mezuzah becomes something holy. A siddur becomes something holy. These acts become actual holy things. And that's why it's interesting when if we look back at the story with Avraham, when he asked Eliezer, his servant, to go out and find a bride for Yitzchak. He says to him, swear to me, and he tells him what he should swear, that he's going to only find a girl that's this and that. And what does he say? What does he say to put his hand on to make an oath? They're making an oath. And he says, put it on my sign of bris milah. Put it on that organ of bris milah. And why? Why is he saying, like, of all places, can't you do a handshake? It's a lot neater. You know? It's a lot less messy, right? Why on his bris milah, on his thigh, take this oath? And the answer is because the bris milah is something that became holy, because this was the one command that Avram had from God himself. God told Abraham to do a brit milah. So this organ becomes something holy because this was the one thing that God actually commanded him to do. So after Sinai, physical reality becomes holy. God is teaching us how we can make an effect on this world. Sometimes we think we do things, but what's really the point? Like, did I really make any change? Did I really affect someone? Did I really affect the world? And we're told everything that we do, and that's why we say the prayers every single week, and we say we were praying for the hostages, and we're praying for the soldiers, because every spiritual thing that we do has an effect. It's lasting. It's not just, I'm just praying to God. It's creating an actual effect here in this world. It's making a change here in this world. And that happened with Sinai at the time of the giving of the Torah. So what was the giving of the Torah? I mean, it was God telling us all these do's and don'ts, right? So I want to share with you another little story that happened with my father when he was alive. Many, many years ago, I might have shared it with you, I went with my daughter, who at the time was maybe 11 years old, and my father at the time was probably in his 70s. And we went for Shabbat, and my children, the year before, my oldest daughter, who lives in Chicago, the one who had the baby, who's named after my father, David. So the summer before my father passed away, she had in her mind, she says, I haven't seen Saba and Savta, the grandparents, for such a long time. My children haven't seen them. I really want them to see them. Like, time is passing. She had this intuition that she lived in Chicago. My parents are in Toronto. When we used to live in Toronto, she would come visit, but now she couldn't go visit with her whole family. She says, we have to see them. So she made a whole road trip to Toronto, And she spent time with my parents and was able to see them. And she said afterwards, this was so special because the following summer, he was already here in Sloan Kettering. And that was when the kids saw him and visited him then. But of course, it's not the same as it was before that when he was well. So she said the same thing happened to her as what happened to my daughter. And I'm going to tell you what happened. So we're sitting around the Shabbat table Friday night, and I see that my father, like the wheels of his brain are working, and he's looking at my daughter, who was like young at the time, it's 11, 12 years old, maybe younger, 9, 10. And he's looking at her and he's thinking, like, how can he connect with her? And here's this brilliant man who's always learning Torah, and intricacies of Talmud, and everything is on his lips, and he's counseling people and such tremendous things. And he's looking at her and trying to figure out, how can I make that connection with her? And he says to her, Sarah, we're going to play a game. We're going to play a game. This is at the Friday night meal. We're going to play a game of charades. Act out a mitzvah without saying it, and I'll guess what it is. And then I'll act out the mitzvah, and you guess what it is.
Oh,
And so and so this elderly man, who in his 70s, energetically gets up and starts going like this, to show her, and she says tefillin, right? And she goes like this, like showing how he's lighting a candle, and Shabbat candles, and they were going on, and we were just like rolling. It was hysterical to see him like getting up with so energetic. And he did this later on with my grandchildren this was not at the Shabbat meal on Friday night, but this was at his desk in his study in the basement, where people would be counseled from all walks of life. They would come, everyone knew that basement study, they would go down to the basement. There was like a whole huge wall to wall full of svarim, of bookshelves, and he had his desk there, and people would be counseled there in private, so that they weren't just disturbed. So the kids were there. He was sitting at his desk, and again, energetically, he gets up, and the kids were even younger. They were, much younger than my daughter, and tries to do the same game with them, playing charades to connect to them. And when I was thinking about it, I was thinking, this is somewhat how we can understand a little bit, to some extent, a little idea of Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. You see, as smart as my father was, and of course my daughter's also very smart, but she was a little kid at the time, right? There's a finite difference between a 70-year-old and a 10-year-old. Of course, there's a huge difference, but it's finite. It's bridgeable to some extent. But when we look at our Creator, God, and us, it's infinitely different. God is infinitely above us. It says God is above us so much. I mean, we're talking about, like, if you think about the most advanced AI, with the most, like, all this, compared to like my little computation of what I can figure out, and that the difference, this schism is so much bigger between God and us, and any one of us, obviously, because God is infinite and we're finite beings. And yet God at Matan Torah was trying to relate to us. He was trying to enter into our world, just like my father was trying to enter into my daughter's world. And how did he succeed in entering into her world? By acting out a mitzvah. So what does God do? God is telling us, I want to connect to you. I want to have a relationship with you. How can we have a relationship? I'm going to give you the gift of a mitzvah, which is a commandment that you can do in a physical way in this physical world. And through this, I'm distilling my wisdom into something that you can actually understand and appreciate and connect with me. And that's what Matan Torah is really all about. That's how this connection becomes forged. And it says, interestingly though, it says that at Har Sinai, it says God took the mountain. It says Kafa Alehem Har Kagigis. God took the mountain and he said, either you accept my Torah, or this is going to be your end. And he put it like on top of them, as if threatening, you're going to be buried underneath it. And this is a very difficult midrash to understand. What does that mean? God is threatening us? I mean, imagine a groom, which God and the Jewish people are like bride and groom. Imagine a groom saying to his bride, either you marry me or that's it. This is going to be your end. Not very romantic, right? I mean, God has wooed us. You know, he showed us all his mastery. He split the sea. He made the makot in Egypt. He did all these miracles for us, which was very, wow, this guy's capable, right? Very capable. And then all of a sudden, like, we're ready to say yes, and God has to hold it above us, hold it above our head. What does this mean? So the commentators explain that God was obviously not threatening us. This will be the end. This will be your destruction. But the choice was so obvious to us. It was something that, it was as if we were being threatened at that moment. Like, how could you not say yes? Just like imagine a king or a prince. Imagine a prince who's wealthy and charming and handsome and has sterling qualities and connects to you. Imagine this person who then proposes to you. How could you not say yes? You connect on so many levels. He's so charming. He's so handsome. He's so smart. He's so everything that you want. How could you say no? Like, the choice is obvious. And in that way, our saying Na'aseh v'nishma on Har Sinai was also so obvious that the answer was so apparent. It was as if God was holding over us this mountain saying, either you accept or the world is going to go to its beginning, to pre-creation. It was obvious. And that's why it says that after Matan Torah, the Jewish people had to re-accept the Torah. And which holiday did we re-accept it? It says, Kiblu v'kimu, Kiblu masha kimu. Kimu masha kiblu. Anyone know which holiday?
Purim?
Purim, yes. What happened on Purim? Who said that? What did they do on Purim?
Well, on Purim, Hashem was hidden from us. Like,
Exactly. Exactly. On Purim, God was hidden. It says the name Esther is from Hester, from hidden. We didn't see it. Hester, because there was Hester Panim. God's face was completely hidden from us. We didn't see God in our lives. You know, times of galut that we're in, sometimes we go through those times today as well, where we feel, I mean, we see these little miracles sticking out. You know, when the IDF comes and rescues 4 hostages, that was like, wow, miraculous. But on a day-to-day, we're like, how could you do this? How could you allow this to happen, God? You know, there's so many things that we say, how? God's face is hidden. We don't understand it. Purim, there's a decree against all the Jewish people that they're going to die. God's face was completely hidden. And it was in that hiddenness that the Jewish people, kimu masha kiblu, they re-accepted what they originally accepted. They said, we're going to stay the Jewish people no matter what. We're going to be the Jewish people. For an entire year, there was this threat over their heads. You're Jewish? We're going to kill you. That was Haman's decree. And not one single person converted out of the religion in order to save themselves. So they show that they re-accepted what they originally accepted. They re-accepted the Torah. So, and that was voluntarily. It wasn't like God's showing us his himself. He's showing us his miracles. He's showing us the reality is so clear. Spirituality is something that, you know, now it's so far from us. There it was crystal clear. It was so clear to us what to do that there was no choice. So then why at Matan Torah was there no choice? Maybe if it's so good later on during Purim that they re-accepted, they voluntarily accepted, even though it was such a difficult situation, even though they couldn't see God. So what was the advantage of on Matan Torah being almost forced into an obvious decision that it was almost even like we weren't deciding? So the answer is because this is a part of who we are. It's showing us there is no choice. We sometimes want to get away from our Judaism. We sometimes want to get away from this relationship. There is no choice to get away from. It's like we say at the Pesach Seder, the Rasha, the wicked child says, "What's this work that you're doing? What's all this?" And it's the answer that we give him is, had you been in Egypt, you wouldn't be redeemed. And the Rebbe's like, oh, this is not a very positive, this isn't positive reinforcement, like that's the way you want to bring him in. But the Rebbe says, no, we're saying something entirely different. We're saying, had you been in Egypt before Matan Torah, you might not have been redeemed, because a lot of Jews were not. A lot of Jews died in Egypt. But after Matan Torah, there's no choice. Then you could choose whether or not you want to be a Jew. After Matan Torah, we were all there. We all accepted. This is who we are. You can't run away from your Judaism. You can't run away from this identity of who you are. You can run away and not do some things. You can run away and not take upon yourself certain things to do. But this is who you are. This is your identity. There's no escaping who you are, because this is your essence. It's like trying to escape yourself. You can't escape it. This is who we are. So the choice had to be almost forced upon us, because it shows us this is who we are. This is who we are as one people, one nation. There is no running away from that. And one last thought, okay?
Oh, really?
Yeah. One last thought, and that is that the Torah was given in this month. Which month is this?
Sivan.
Sivan, which is what month of the year? If we start from Nisan, Iyar, Sivan.
No. The
Third month. Torah was given in this month, in the third month. Do you know which millennia the Torah was given in? In Jewish history, we know the dates for everything, every single thing. You know, people say, "Oh, the world is 1,000,000 years old." No, we know exactly how old the world is. We know exactly. We have exact timetables of when Avram was born, when the Mabul happened, when everything happened. So the actual year for Matan Torah is the year 2448 in the Hebrew calendar.
Oh.
Okay, so it happened from 2448 years from the time of creation, which is in the third millennia, right? That's already the third millennia. So it happened in the third month, in the third millennia. Who was Moshe? How many children were in his family? How many siblings did he have? Aaron,
And
Miriam, first Miriam, then Aaron, then Moshe. He was the third child. He was the third child. The Torah, if we look at the Torah, the books of the Torah, we have what's called Tanakh, which is Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. 3 parts. The Torah, which is the written Torah, the Nach, the Nevi'im, the book of prophecy, and Ketuvim, the book of writings. If we look at people in the Jewish nation, especially today, we don't know which tribe we are, but there's one thing that people do know. They know if they are a Kohen, Levi, or Yisrael. So we have those 3 categories of people, Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael. So there's a lot of 3s when it comes to Torah. It's given in the third month by the third child, Moshe. This threefold part of Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, in the third millennia since creation. Right, we have the 3 fathers as well, exactly. So it says the threefold Torah was given in the third month to the third child, the third born child. And what is the idea of this number 3? We're talking a lot about Torah, and the point of Torah is to bring peace to the world. It says the whole point of Torah is to bring peace to the world. It's to be a home for God, to make everything that there isn't this conflict between physicality and spirituality, like we're talking about, between right and wrong, between evil. It's to bring peace, to show the clarity of how everything can be used. So when we talk about the number 3, let's talk about, first of all, the number 1. Number 1 means there's one person, and he's dominant over everybody. Everybody has to listen. So everyone's voice is suppressed to that one person. Imagine a dictator. When we talk about number 2, it means I have an opinion and you have an opinion. So there's discord. There's my opinion and there's your opinion. There's my way of doing things and your way. My way or the highway, right? That's what we say. Then comes the number 3. And the point of the number 3 is to make peace between the two disparities, to find a common ground, to say there's my way and your way, but then there's a third way. And that third way incorporates my way and your way. So one isn't dominating the other, but we're finding a way to express both of them. And that's the point of Torah. Torah was given to make peace to the world, so that when we look at physical reality, when we look at spiritual reality, it's not a clash. It's not something that's fighting each other. It's something that we can use and incorporate to make this world a better world. And that's why it says when the Torah was given, it says the voice of God was so loud, right? But there was no echo. There was no echo. And why was there no echo? You know, if you go up to some of these mountaintops and you call out on some of these mountaintops, like on Bear Mountain, or like you really hear the echo. What's the echo? What does an echo mean? How come something becomes an echo? Why is there this concept of an echo? What is an echo?
It's your voice.
It bounces back.
Yeah.
Exactly. It bounces back. I'm saying something and it bounces back. Now, often we don't have an echo because it's absorbed. If you have carpets, you won't have the echo because it's absorbed the voice is absorbed. If you have walls that penetrate into the walls, it's absorbed. It's not this, it doesn't bounce back. When we say that there was no echo at Har Sinai, what are we saying? We're saying that God was saying a truth, and this truth was absorbed into all the pores of creation. It wasn't bouncing back. It was something that was completely absorbed because this was truth. This was reality. And what does that mean for us? It means that there's nothing that's going to stop us from actually accomplishing what our goals are in Torah. Sometimes we have this blockage in front of us, and we feel that we're not going to do it. Sometimes we look at Jewish history, we look at our situation, and we think, we're not going to ever get to the finish ground, but we are going to. There's nothing that is going to stop us because God created the world by looking into the world. By looking into the Torah, he created the world. So the blueprint of the world is the Torah. And we sometimes feel like there's a challenge, there's something stopping us from doing Torah, from doing a part of Torah, from doing something that we know we need to be doing. And we have to realize that that stoppage is something that's just superficial and temporary. And we can overcome it. And a challenge that we're going through as well is just something that's superficial and a temporary blockage that we can overcome and we will overcome. If we're following the path of Torah, the path of God's voice, there is no echo. There is no place devoid of it. And we just need to reinforce in ourselves this idea that we do have the strength to persevere, and we are going to get to the finish line. You know, we're at difficult times now with the situation in the land of Israel, with the situation for Jews all over the world, and sometimes you just really lose hope. And we need to remember there was no echo. There's a plan in place. God looked into the Torah and created the world. The world is not something that is going to stop the Torah. It might present a temporary challenge. It might present something that blocks us right now, but we will overcome it and we will reach the finish line on a personal level as well as on a cosmic level. So we usually say Kabbalat HaTorah, and we wish each other Kabbalat HaTorah b'simcha u'b'pnimiyut. We wish each other that we should re-accept the Torah. As we do every single year, we re-accept upon ourselves the Torah on Shavuot, b'simcha, with happiness, with joy, because the Jewish people are a nation of joy. If you saw after the hostages came out, you saw those clips on the beach of Tel Aviv, the lifeguard is announcing the hostages are free, and everyone's dancing with joy, because that's what we are. We're a nation that feels each other's joy. We go through the sorrow, we go through the tears, but then we overcome them and we dance with the joy. So we do it b'simcha u'b'pnimiyut. Pnimiyut means innerness. because this is really who we are. This is what our identity is. This is something that we can try to fight, and we do try to fight it sometimes. We try to fight our identity or what we are. We try to go against it, but this is really the essence of what a Jew is. And it's when we connect to who we are and what we are that we bring that peace to the world, and we bring that message of morality and light to the world.
Amen.